Yes, you look like you're so in love.
Are we recording right now?
Yeah. You just kicked that off with the line everybody loves. Is this on? Are we going? So, these are my friends, Gabe and Rebekah Lyons. And you guys have been so sweet to do this last minute because I've decided I want to interview couples that are working together. Hopefully you guys won't be in a knockdown, drag-out fight by the end of this interview. We're going to start things off with some lightning round questions. These are deep questions, and you guys just answer however the spirit leads you. Okay, Rebekah, you're first. You have to answer honestly.
I'm scared.
Okay. Have you guys ever read the Would You Rather books?
We played the Would You Rather game.
Yeah. That's what I like to do with 75% of my time. Okay. So, Rebekah, for the rest of your life, you can only wear top-to-bottom denim with black Converse or taupe linen with white Keds. Which do you choose?
First.
Oh, okay.
Denim and Converse.
She loves denim. Okay, next question.
Linen gets so wrinkled.
What?
Linen just gets so wrinkled.
I know, but I have decided that once I hit 65, it's just straight white linen. I'm going to wear, like, scarves, and I see it with the Keds. I'm probably going to go to Boca Raton as well, so you can join me in your denim.
Oh, I will.
Okay, next question is about me. You can either have me or Oprah Winfrey over for dinner. Who do you choose?
You.
Thank you. Good answer. Moving on.
I've had enough meals with you to know that that would be way more fun.
Thank you. Well, when Oprah watches this, she'll have some words for you. Okay, this is my favorite one. Would you rather have to legally change your name to Rebekah, spelled U-G-G at the end, and when questioned about it, you have to tell people that your parents started the comfortable shoe line and named it after you? Or would you have to legally change your last name from Lyons to Lioness, and when questioned about it, have to simply nod your head and say, wouldn't you?
I would go with Lioness all day long.
Okay. Sorry, Gabe.
Does that mean he stays Lions and then I'm Lioness?
Yeah. And then it's just...
Okay. As long as he doesn't have to change with me, it's fine.
Okay, good. So no Rebekah. Okay, Gabe, you ready?
All right, let's go.
Been waiting your whole life for this. Okay, when you speak or are interviewed, not counting today, you will now either have a sixth finger and the inability to not speak dramatically with your hands, or be an excessive blinker and sniffler while you speak. Which do you choose?
I think I'll go with the finger.
I have such a visual of that. I can't stop. Okay, now this, and your hands are always moving. Yeah. People are like, was that a six finger that I just saw? Okay, now this one, just answer quick. Don't overthink it. Would you rather rock Rick McKinley's goatee or Francis Chan's Flavor Saver?
McKinley's goatee.
He'll appreciate that. Okay. For the rest of your life, when you and Rebekah argue, she will express her feelings in the form of a rap or Broadway show tune. Which do you choose?
A rap.
Wow.
It goes with the denim and the Converse.
Yeah, exactly. She's already got the look. So, okay, that's great. Now, on that note, because I know how to transition so well, how do you guys fight? Everyone wants to know. Because, as my father says, people miss the verse in, I think is it 1st or 2nd Corinthians? It's like, if you marry, you have not sinned, but you will have trouble. So people always think that fighting's a bad thing. It's not. But people have different fighting styles, so we just want you to open up and tell everyone how you guys fight.
That sounds great. You want to start?
No, you start.
Well, it usually starts with, a little irritation, a little comment, sarcasm, something that happens in the midst of a busy schedule, busy day, and it doesn't get resolved. And so then later on, there's more comments, there's a little more sarcasm, there's a little more back and forth, less loving, and then all of a sudden it breaks loose hours later, and we're recounting all of the little things that added up to the big thing, and then usually that becomes a long conversation and trying to get context. How did this happen?
Yeah.
He doesn't initiate a fight with raising his voice. He initiates it with, like, one of these, like, oh, look how many days mom's gone this month. Like one of those.
Yeah.
It's very aggressive. And
you're just aggressive, Rebekah?
Yeah, yes. There's no questioning if I'm upset or not.
Yeah.
So then I just respond. And I think I was reading about anger actually this week, because that's probably that is my thing. Yeah. Like a quick, loud response. And it's usually when you feel like you were unjustly accused of something, or you're defensive, or you didn't win an argument. And so I was like, well, that kind of sums it up. And partly I think it is that defensive thing that just escalates for me really quickly. And then it does look obviously overreactive and overbearing, but it's usually because it's like simmered a couple days or a few days, and we haven't had a mature conversation about it.
Yeah. Oh, it seems fun. Well, hey, I think it's good and healthy, and the minute you guys stop fighting, that's when you need to be concerned. Okay. Do you love getting advice from a single person who can't have a long-term relationship?
Yes.
Please help
us with the idealistic side of all of this.
Yes.
We need to be reminded of that.
I need some of the Eggerichs' wisdom.
Yes, that actually we should tell people how we know each other. Gabe doesn't know me well enough to know how to pronounce my last name. No, nobody knows how to pronounce my last name, but that was when I spoke at Q this spring, was it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Apparently Gabe was looking for me. I was locked in the bathroom going over my talk in my head, because if you don't know, Gabe and Rebekah started Q conferences, which, how many speakers do you usually bring in?
Probably about 35.
Okay. And each speaker can speak for either 3 minutes, 9 minutes, or 18 minutes. They're assigned. I was given 9 minutes. The morning of the conference, all the speakers get an email at about 6 a.m. where Gabe starts it off by saying something really sweet, like praying for you, whatever. And then he'll go, yeah. Exactly. Look how many days Joy's going to be out of town or out of work after she bombs this talk. No, so it's like we're praying for you, da-da-da. Keep in mind, the percentage of people that will be here today, and then you like break down like this many PhDs, this many, like all these different things, and I'm like, I barely graduated college. So I was in the bathroom like hyperventilating because Annie says, once the clock, because they time you, once the clock goes into the red, people have stopped listening to you.
And the
have fun. What'd you say?
The zeros start to like expand on the screen.
I know. I still remember. You can see the red in your peripheral, and you lose consciousness. I blacked out. I had to watch the talk, and I was like, oh, I didn't die. Anyway, so I was hyperventilating in the bathroom, and apparently Gabe was looking to find me to know how to pronounce my last name. Didn't get there in time, and it was like John Travolta.
Travolta it.
Yes, he did. No, but I don't actually remember when we all became friends.
I know for me it was meeting, I think I met your parents and you all at the same time. Eric Metaxas, I think, introduced us in Nashville. Was one of the times I know I met.
But then he was in Portland.
Yes.
Right when I saw each other a year ago in Austin at IF, and you're like, I just accosted your husband in a parking lot.
Exactly. I hadn't met you yet, Rebekah. Yeah, we had friends, and I work at my church, or I work out of my church, and I have a treadmill desk. So I was like, and it looks out the window, and all of a sudden I see Gabe walking you were going to meet my pastor, Rick. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, I get to meet his wife in like a couple days. But I was already out of breath from the treadmill. And then I run down the stairs, run after you, and like hit my friends always say that I do this thing like me, Tarzan, you, Jane. When I see someone that I know, I just assume they don't know me. So I state their name. I'm like, Gabe, Joy. So I probably did something like that. But then I was really out of breath, and out of context for you of why I would be so out of breath. So I apologize for that. And you guys are still my friends anyway, so thank you.
Yes.
Oh, and then I met you through the IF gathering, right, Rebekah?
Yep.
And we've remained.
Then we became online friends.
Yes.
And in real life friends.
And I
have to say, for me, it was probably right after I met you. It was that summer that I read your parents' book, Love and Respect, for the first time, which was huge for me and Rebekah. We I remember that summer we had a few days away without our children, and we were both reading books and talking and going through what we were learning. And that was a huge moment for us, even in our marriage, just to talk through the basic concepts of love and respect. So that began meeting you, then read the book, and then I met your parents, I think, a few months later. And it was just it's been great to know your family a little bit.
Well, thank you.
I think it was last summer, and at that point we'd been married 16 years, and we had been, I guess, 3 years into New York. And it's amazing how when you are just running fast forward in life, and my book had just come out 3 months before that. We had just had Q. There was just a very intense season, and we found ourselves in June looking at each other like we were just missing each other on every front. And that's right when he started reading that book. And it's amazing how you can be married so long and then just hear something so simple and yet so profound on the idea of like, how do I receive love, and how do I show him respect and take responsibility for that? So
yeah. Well, and I guess that, I have a few different questions. I want to know a little bit about, I always like asking people their love story, and I know you guys met in college, because people are like, 14, did you say 14 years or 16 years? 14 years you've been married?
Yeah, now it's 17, so yeah.
Yeah, in a month, 17. Yeah.
Wow, and people are like, they're babes. So you guys got married, obviously, when you were 14.
Yeah.
Child bride. No, you met in college, right? Okay, so I do want to know, and I like hearing love stories, and I like when people kind of like talk over each other when they're sharing how they met. So just
really sharing that.
What? Yeah. Just share a little bit about like how you remember. We had like a girls' weekend this summer, Rebekah, and I remember you talking about seeing Gabe on campus, big man on campus. But Gabe, tell us kind of what you remember first about Rebekah.
Well, our first time we met, I was a freshman in college. She was a sophomore. She was a year older. And we hung out one night. A bunch of friends were together. We had just met. And I just remember we were at a friend's house and literally stayed up all night talking and laughing and joking and just having a blast.
And that was it.
And yeah, that was it. And it was just awesome, like great connection, great friend. And that began a friendship over the next 3 years of college for me, where we just stayed in touch and would see each other casually. And she dated somebody very seriously, was engaged. I was very seriously dating somebody that I had a relationship with for many years. And it just happened towards kind of the end of college. Both of those relationships ended. And because we had that base of a friendship, it became like a really cool base to just be friends. And then that moved into us.
Is she getting emotional? Rebekah, it's okay.
It's kind of hard to go through all this again.
Yeah. I didn't know that part. I guess I thought you kind of like met and started dating. So and when you guys were dating the other people, there wasn't a thought of like, oh, Gabe, oh, Rebekah. It was just friends.
It truly was just friends.
We were always in kind of a larger group of mutual friends if we were to do something socially.
Yeah.
But it was kind of in and out. So it was interesting though, that first night I remember, like the one he was talking about, is that we got so delirious. It was a night of like just being silly and like having fun and not having any kind of remote thought of like, this is a thing. I remember at like 3 a.m. we were like deliriously laughing about the dumbest thing. And there's something really free about that. And so I think it was more just, it was cool to have a friendship like that was so comfortable and almost unexpected, when you're trying to be cool at 19 in college and bust a move. So.
Well, and so that might be something that for people who have read your books or been to the Q conferences or just know a bit about your passions, they may perceive you guys as a little bit more, you're very driven, seemingly serious when you speak people. So I guess... Wait. And that all was just debunked. Thank you. Yeah, I guess, how do you guys let loose and have fun? Or was that just college time?
We don't do that anymore.
Yeah, I don't know. I think because of that basis of our relationship that was really built off of being fun and silly and joking and, we just connected early on with like really great sense of humor, getting each other's jokes, that sort of thing. So I just think that's always allowed for that. I do think once we start having children, you lose a little bit of the margin, it seems, in life for that. And so it became a little more work to make sure we're creating space. So, one of the things we're committed to is every year because of grandparents, or if the grandparents can't help, we'll have a nanny watch our children so that we can get away for at least 3 or 4 nights. And we have learned through our marriage, like if we don't have that sort of on the calendar every year to look forward to enjoy just that time with one another, it really does rekindle and keep our love, like I feel like, just completely fresh, and we're able to reconnect, talk about big picture things, because at the beginning of our relationship, I think that's one of the things that drew us to one another, is we both dreamed really big about what God was up to in the world and how he worked and how we wanted to be a part of that, however he saw fit, but there was a mutual encouragement towards that. And so in our life now, I think that's a natural part of our conversations, and it just keeps getting kind of stronger and I think more aligned than ever.
Did you guys, when you first got married, and obviously you had similar visions like what you just said, did you plan on working together? Because Q is the first kind of thing you guys launched together, correct?
Right.
Yeah. No, we didn't.
No, so back to the silly question. I think that was such a foundation of our relationship and who we each were on our own. Yeah. So I look back at college and it was so much fun for both of us, and not always because we were together, but even in his world or in my world, it was all about community, all about like seizing the moment. We went to Liberty. We didn't study as much as we probably should have, but we loved the whole experience. It was a great 4 years for both of us. And I would say we carried that into marriage. Like early on in our marriage, we were always like setting the stage or inviting people into our home to just dance parties, whatever it looked like, just silliness. And for us, when Kade was born at 26, it was kind of a very abrupt like reality of life that we have a special needs son, and we were left in our mid-20s and with not a lot of maturity to really approach that and receive that and take that seriously. And so I think it matured us overnight in ways we probably weren't ready for or even really weren't anticipating. And there was a season in there where we probably did seem more serious or more weighted, because what used to seem really great was no longer compelling, and then the things that we weren't considering before all of a sudden became really compelling. And that's really what birthed Q and what made us ask larger questions of life about what matters and why. Yeah. And I do think now that our kids are 13, 11, and 9, we're seeing the silliness in them that they get naturally, from us. And it's been so healthy for us to even just kind of see that come full circle. While there was grieving in there in our marriage, around that season. But it's been fun to watch that change over the years too.
Yeah, well, and for people who don't know, you have 3 beautiful children, and your first child, Kade, was born with Down syndrome. And I do hear a lot of times when people list the things that break up marriage, and the death of a child or a child with special needs or something like that, it brings everything to light. So what would you say for couples out there of, how you navigated that?
Well, I think we couldn't have done it alone. We had great friends who were kind of walked through that with us. And, there is a sense, I think, of kind of chronic stress that families who have children with special needs are confronted with, whether they realize it or not. And it actually puts even higher value on the need to have others that can help care for your children at times, to get away, to make sure you've scheduled date nights and moments like that so that you can get outside of the kind of, in the earliest years, for us at least, it could just be crazy. Like there was just so much to keep up with and to do, and you just didn't feel like you could relate to a lot of other people who weren't going through those same experiences. We were fortunate to have great community around us that just were in life with us, so it just helped a ton. We didn't feel alone or isolated, and we were able to contribute to that specific community in our city. At the time it was Atlanta, and that also helped us feel like we were able to see Kade's life as having, you know, meaning beyond not only what he contributed to our life and our family, but also giving us a vision for other children who are terminated and never born with Down syndrome. And we felt really motivated to help other families understand how beautiful these children are, what they add and contribute to our lives and our communities and our schools and on and on. And so that's been a joy to get to do that.
Well, I know.
Sorry. I think sometimes when you're in that, you want to push people away because you think they can't relate to you, and you almost bear that burden alone. And then when you're looking at each other, you can't. You just can't, because then if things get hard for me one day, I just want to blame Gabe. Or if it's hard because he's not being enough for what I need, or vice versa. And I think now the special needs community has grown in awareness, grown in just understanding, grown in support. So even in 13 years, what we've seen is dramatically, like so much more beautiful and visible. And I guess my words for new parents or parents that are entering this, like, don't push the people away that have always been in your life, even if they can't relate in the way of having the same situation or circumstance, because the reality is they love you. They loved you before that child. Now they love that child too. They might not know what to say all the time. They might not know exactly how to, like, be politically correct and think of saying everything the right way, but have grace with them, because if you were in their shoes, you would be just as, you know, a little bit confused on how to approach that. So,
yeah. No, I have been impressed with both of you just in terms of how much you both travel and speak, and that you will bring your kid, like, you just continue to do life. Like when I found out your kids were at Q and I knew all that was on your, I mean, I didn't even know all that was on your plate for everything for Q, but I knew you were very busy. And they were like, oh yeah, the kids are, you know, in the hotel room, da da da. And I was like, you have them here? Like, I just think that, you know, if I'm fortunate to be married and have kids, I want my kids to be able to see my life however that looks. And I love that you don't just keep them separate. They're in it and they see it. And what about, like, how do you guys, so for the younger two kids, is there a dynamic where they feel like, have there been seasons where they've felt like they didn't get enough attention or anything like that? Or is there tension between the kids? Well, that's normal. There's always tension between children.
Hey, but you know what? It's been cool to see how much Kade has influenced, I think, just their personalities, how much compassion, care, and love and patience they have just with their peers and in general in life. It's really sweet. They wrote this little song, I Wish They Could Sing For You, about Kade, that they sing together. It's really awesome.
Cute.
Celebrates their brother. The only tension seemed to be that we will sometimes default and let Kade, for example, watch a television show on the iPad or something, and we won't let them do it that particular. It's like a school night or something, and we'll let him have some privilege like that they're not getting, and they always come back, well, it's not fair that Kade gets to do this. Right. Those are about the only little tensions that come when we give him a little bit of special treatment. You know,
they're the youngest, so they've only always known Kade as Kade. And I don't even know if we used the language Down syndrome until they were 8 or 9.
Yeah, like 2 or 3 years ago.
Because it wasn't really a thing for them.
Yeah.
And now, and it's interesting, in New York, they just came to his defense quickly all the time. And they have such a heart for not really seeing that, which has been great in other kids with special needs or even just different ethnicities in New York. I mean, there's just so much diversity that they're really comfortable in that setting.
Yeah.
So, Joy, we have to wrap up in the next minute.
Okay.
Next minute.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Pick up our children from gymnastics. So
you don't want to just leave them on the
bars
curb like my parents always did with me. Just kidding. No, they didn't.
Next time.
Okay. Well, let's see. What question do I want to end with then? I was going to ask you more stuff about Q, but people can find that just by going to qideas.org. You both have books out, and you're always doing things. You're awesome. And now Q Women has just started. Rebekah, you started that. You can find out information about that. Okay, so I'm just going to stay on the topic of relationships then. In your last minute, tell me your ideal, both of you, because it could be different, and I might start a fight right now. But what is your ideal growing old scenario look like?
Oh man. Well, the latest thing I told Gabe is that I said I want to live on the Upper East Side as like an old stodgy, like female rider, and then we would take walks through Central Park
in
together.
linen. You'll be wearing linen.
In linen, I might cross over.
Yeah,
I'm 60.
I'll come and meet you.
But then Kade will always like hanging. We think he'll be like hanging out with us.
We sort of have to think about what's Kade's scenario and whether he'll be married one day and have a little wife that they live at a part of our home. We have no idea.
Little apartment.
But it's kind of fun to imagine that. But we think date nights, Kade will be with us for some of our date nights into the future. Yeah. And we're excited about that.
We joked on our 50th wedding anniversary that like he'd be sitting with us at our table.
but but I would say, so mine's a little different. Mine's probably a little more like rolling hills,
city girl,
home with a little bit of land and a
rocking chairs,
sunsets, and like a little more just slow pace, and all the kids coming out and having a place and space for children to run and play and have fun. And I don't know. So we'll see which future
happens, and we're stating it here, and you guys can watch them and find out. Well, if I don't get married, will you guys just graft me into your family, and I'll come hang out wherever?
That's right.
You can join us in Kade.
Okay, thank you. I'll have that glass of champagne at your anniversary. Okay, well, thank you for giving me this time. I feel like I could have asked you a million questions, but I think what we've heard is wise and insightful, and it will encourage people. So, thank you.
Love you, girl.
Joy.
All right, love you too. Bye.